What's up, everybody? This is Jimmy Faluca reporting, and unfortunately, I'm going back on my word. This will be my last video before the new year, not my last one. I had a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine, and he was telling me how, because he's a friend that has been watching wrestling almost as long as I have, and I've informed him on the page, and what we do and, the disagreements. And he said, you know, maybe you should explain why it is that you complain the way you do. Because a lot of people just look at it as chronic complaining and there's no reasoning behind it. And then because he knows my reason, because he has a similar opinion that I do. And I figured, you know what? I'm going to lay the gauntlet down, and I'm going to give my reason as to why I complain about wrestling. And what I'm going to do is, and I'm just warning you guys now, this video is going to be a little political. Some things are going to have nothing to do with wrestling. Some things will have everything to do with wrestling. If you don't like politics, I suggest you don't watch this. If you appreciate the communication of politics and the constructive criticism of politics, then I suggest that you watch this video. I look at the WWE as the United States government. That's how I look at them. They're the only big game in town. No other wrestling organization measures up. Like in the world, no other military measures up to ours. It's just the way it is. However, I also don't just have the medicine fed to me and swallow it like an idiot. I don't just walk off the cliff without looking left or right. I don't. I think for myself. I don't just accept what's given to me and take it as face value. I look at the way things are given. I dissect it. I look at the opinions of many people, and then I give my own opinion. Because especially if you're going to talk about a decision that was made in the past, or you're going to talk about an event that took place in the past, I don't think you should just look at one person's opinion. You should look at multiple opinions and then decide for yourself what you think. It's like, okay, the Montreal Screwjob. Everyone's got their opinions on the matter. It's like me. Anyone that knows me personally knows that I am a big researcher of the JFK assassination. He was our president, and he was murdered. The official story is that he was murdered by a single assassin. I don't believe that. And as far as the Montreal Screwjob, the WWE's official story is that Brett didn't want to do business, and therefore Vince did what he had to do in order to keep the belt in his own company. I don't believe that. Part of me believes that it could have been a work, because Brett had, in his contract, 50% say of how his career in WWE ends. And he could have sued the shit out of WWE after the Montreal Screwjob, but he didn't. Questions, my friends, questions. Same thing with 911. We were told that it was 19 Islamic radicals armed with box cutters that defeated our multi-billion dollar air defense system, which no other country could do, and that's how they were successful. I don't believe that. Don't believe it for 1 minute. Likewise, the WWE projects that CM Punk was just complaining and bitching and moaning about his position and that he held them up for perks. I don't believe that. I believe Punk did what he had to do to survive. And the fact of the matter is he was good enough. But because the WWE has a bodybuilder fetish and a bodybuilder way of looking at things, that what the top guy should look like, I guess they have lapses in memory with guys like Shawn Michaels and Mick Foley. I don't know. Or even Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin was not a big muscle guy. He was just a rugged, tough son of a bitch that you didn't want to screw with. So, my belief is you should never just accept what is given to you. That is the way I live my life. I live my life that way at work, and I've been in that job for over 5 years, so no one can tell me that that mentality does not work on the job. Because if it didn't, I would have been fired a long time ago, and I work in a hospital. I don't work in a bullshit construction job where you could have a disagreement with your boss, and the next day you're hammering in nails for him. Not at all. My mindset is you should think for yourself, and don't be afraid to project your opinions. one or two people that are on this page that listen to this video will agree with me on this. They may not voice their opinions because they don't want to get stomped on by the rest of you. But I'm going to put it to you this way. If you disagree with things the government does in the country today, then it means you hate your country. That's what the consensus is. If you question government, if you question, no pun intended, the authority in this country, it means you hate the country, which is absolutely untrue. I love my country. I hate my government. I hate the way they do things. I think it's 150% wrong. They do only what they want to do for profit. War is the biggest business you could be involved in this world. And they get involved in everywhere they can. That's why I was so happy to see the American people rise up and say that they were not going to go into Syria. They were not going to go over there in Libya. They were not going to do it. The calls were unbelievable. That the people of this country said absolutely not. And the sad part is we haven't had a declared war since World War II. Yet, when's the last time this country was at peace? You know, not for nothing. No one wants to talk about those things. And no one wants to talk about the problems in WWE. I've noticed that. Nobody wants to talk about the problems in the country. Nobody wants to talk about the problems in WWE. Everyone just wants to sit there, eat the medicine, drink the medicine, and accept it. I'm not one of those people. I think for myself, and I give constructive criticism. It's very simple. I'll give you another example. The violence had to get toned down because of the deaths of Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit. First of all, I don't think the violence had anything to do with Eddie. I think Eddie's problems were the fact that he had drug issues, which is not the business's fault. It's the same thing goes with sports, same thing goes with movies. It is easier, being a star, it is easier to get hooked on things, but only if you let it. That's my opinion. I don't think it's the business, I think it's the person. Benoit, they're blaming the chair shots and the flying headbutts. It's the same thing with the mass shootings. You're going to blame the weapon, not the person using it. Benoit had multiple concussions and did not take care of them. Mick Foley's had, I think, just as many concussions as Chris Benoit. I don't see Mick Foley strangling Little Dewey or killing Colette. I don't see that. It's the person. Benoit didn't take care of himself. Not that Foley was a master at taking care of himself, because it's obvious. Look at the laundry list of injuries he had. But it shouldn't mean that the WWE has become a petting zoo. You know, you can't go from being a roller coaster that went all the way up to the teacups that go round and round. You can't do that. Because then, I'm not saying they got a hot shot all the time, but even with their storylines, it can't be candy coated. And it's like the mass shootings. People want to blame the gun. You know, every time that there's a mass shooting, I hear people say, "Oh, we should ban all the guns." Speaking as an aspiring attorney, this is my response to that. The day that I could prosecute a gun for murder is when I'll support gun control. I can't prosecute a gun for murder. A gun doesn't have mens rea, doesn't have an evil mind, doesn't have the evil intent. Only a person can have evil intent. Therefore, I can only put the person responsible for those actions. I hold Chris Benoit responsible for his own actions because he didn't take care of himself. Shawn Michaels had multiple concussions. Mick Foley, need I say more? You know? So in closing, this is the way I'm going to put it. I don't complain about wrestling because I'm Mark. I don't complain about wrestling because I sit on the internet all day. This is the first time I've actually been on... Today's the first time I've been online in almost 2-3 days. You know? I've been very busy. I'm a very busy man. I just find time for this stuff because, number one, and I'm not trying to kiss your asses because I like you guys, number one. Number two, I think you deserve my undivided attention when I'm doing something on the page. And number three, I love wrestling. Always will, always have. And that's the way I'm always going to be. But the reason I complain about professional wrestling in the WWE is because I look at them like I look at the U.S. government. They're the most powerful game in town, and they do things for themselves, for their own personal gain, not for the citizens or for the enjoyment of the audience. Used to be that. Used to be that way. And it's a shame that it isn't anymore. But I just get angry when I see people that are just so willing to just go along to get along. And I don't like that. I don't like people that go along to get along. And I know someone on this page, and he knows who he is, going to say, "Oh, we just want to have a good time." More to life than having a good time, my friend. You have to think. You have to use your brain. The best gift that God gave us was the brain. And I suggest that we use it. It don't matter how old you are. You can enjoy this just as much as you did when you were younger. I have a good friend of mine also who moved away a few years ago. He said, listen, people enjoy football, baseball, hockey, boxing, mixed martial arts, and they go crazy at the shows. How come we can't? And we're wrestling fans. We pay the tickets. We pay for the pay-per-views. We pay for the merchandise. We have every right to go nuts and have a good time. And I agree with him. That's the way I'm always going to be. And whoever respects me will associate with me and be my friend. And whoever doesn't can get lost. Well, that wraps it up for me. This is probably the quickest video I've ever done. I wish you guys very happy holidays and a safe new year. You guys take care. I'll see you in 2014.